welcome to this week's episode of Potpourri. I'm your host, Raphael Lester, and today with me I have Dr. Babs Onabanjo. How's it going, Doc?
It's going very well, thank you.
Good. No problem. Well, let's jump right into it. Well, I see that you're from Nigeria. What brought you to America?
Oh, well, I came to America to go to school as most students do. And after finishing my bachelor's degree in 1978 from Alabama State University, the School of the Honest. And then I went to Auburn and I received my master's degree in 1979. And then I came back to Alabama State to teach. I was an assistant professor of business management. And then later on, I decided to move back to Atlanta, and where I pursued my PhD degree from Clark Atlanta University. It used to be Atlanta University then. And so I've been around in Atlanta area since 1981. Oh,
wow.
Yes.
Also, I know that you assisted with writing or advising on the book AD and ML King, Two Brothers Who Dared to Dream. What inspired that?
That is very true because, you know, most people did not know that Dr. King had a brother. I found that to be very interesting when I first found out that he had a brother myself. Because I read a lot when I was in Nigeria, and as a result, I found myself in Montgomery, Alabama because of the boys' boycott, which was well televised in those days. So my coming to America was not by accident because I ended up in Montgomery, Alabama. That was because of Dr. Martin Luther King. So I haven't read so much about Dr. King and realizing that later on that he had a brother that the world did not know. I did a lot of research, and it inspired me after talking to a few people who were the full soldiers of the day. Not only confirmed that he had a brother, but A.D. King was a significant icon of the movement. In fact, there were two brothers who lived together, dined together, prayed together, and did everything together. And A.D. was a true confidant of his brother. And a lot of the full soldiers will tell you that Martin and A.D. were inseparable in life. So why do we separate them in death? And that was what inspired me to find out more about him.
So what's the relationship between A.D. and ML?
A.D. was the only brother to ML, the same father, same mother. Daddy King had actually 3 children. The first was Christine King Faris, Dr. Christine King Faris. She was born in 1927. And then ML was born in 1929. And then AD was born in 1930. You can see how close they were.
Wow.
Yes.
So going into the book, I know that it talks about some of the laws that changed America. What are the 3 laws?
Oh yeah, there were 3 laws that really significant laws that changed America. The first law was the 1964 Civil Rights Act, which was as a result of demonstration in Birmingham. And AD was the leader in Birmingham that led that movement. Because remember, in 1963 was the bombing of the Sistine Church Street. And there, AD realized that they were targeting the children. And he said, well, the children now need to be part of the movement and defend themselves. And take up whatever situation they have to find themselves to make sure that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And what AD did was, AD had 5 children. And AD would put his children in front of the line and ask the whole congregation to follow. And so that changed the strategy of the movement, where children are now being involved. And it became kind of embarrassing to America when the whole world would see children being mistreated. And these are the futures of tomorrow. So it became not only a good strategy, but an effective strategy. But AD was criticized for that.
Wow.
He was criticized for that. Why do you put children in arm's length? And he said, they're my children. And so I love children, and we know we need to begin to mold them to become adults of tomorrow and leaders of tomorrow. We just need to train them, and that's what he did.
And talking about children as far as the African-American race, with the situation in Ferguson, what's your take on that?
Well, I think that the situation with Michael Brown is very unfortunate. But one thing I would like to say on the side of caution is that African American children need to be trained well. I know that we need, see, hatred is taught. Love is not. Love comes naturally. And so you have all these people during the 60s, you have the KKK, you have all these kind of bad organization that base their existence on hatred. So hatred, one thing that Dr. King fought for, three things really: poverty, war, and racism. We must know that racism still exists, and
Yes,
it will
absolutely.
always exist. And that brought us to the civil rights of the 60s, where we were fighting for integration. Okay, and we're now integrated into the mainstream, but we don't know how to deal with it because we're not prepared for it. Civil rights was focused on the rights and liberty of every human being, guaranteed by the Constitution. But there is economic right as well. And we tend to focus our mind away from that. In America, without economic power, you know, you are not positioned to be relevant. And so now, A.D. King Foundation have found its rightful place because we promote true entrepreneurship, where our youth begin to see that they don't have to be employees, but employers. And so it's another mindset. Because if you don't have that mindset, you'll never think that way. You'll never prepare yourself that way. Because America is only for those who are prepared.
I believe in that as well.
Yes, so we focus on, Mrs. King is now 83 years old, Naomi King, the widow to A.D. Williams King. And once a month we go to different schools to motivate our children, our youth, and to mold them into become functional citizens when they become adults. And letting them know that education is the key to the future. And therefore, we have to change their thought process. And we employ what we call, I too have a dream. And that involves 4 processes. The first process is think. We want to build thinkers. We want to build people who can think outside the box, who are intellectuals, who would soar to any level. In other words, you've got to build philosophers, because if you think, then you can be different. And the only people that are different that succeed in life. So we have to begin to build thinkers. The second thing is basically they have to believe in themselves. So we have to raise their self-esteem. We have to empower them that they can become whatever they want to be. And we also believe that faith is very important, that with God all things are possible. So by giving them those kinds of values that they would like to live by is very important. And the third thing is for them to dream, because dream is inspiring. Dreams give you hope. Dreams empower you for the future and prepare you for the future as well. And so we want them to dream and know that their rising is not just reaching the star, that the sky is just the beginning. And then the last is to dare, make it happen. Be whole, become. No excuses.
No excuses.
Yes.
I also know that before you assisted with the book, that you started or put out a documentary titled Reverend A.D. King, Behold the Dream, Brother to a Dream.
That's correct. Again, I never knew that ML, we call him, I had a brother called A.D. And so the first person I approached was Mrs. Coretta Scott King. And I asked her in my private moment about Reverend A.D. King. And she told me, she said, A.D. and ML were brothers, very close brothers. And so if you want to know something about A.D., you need to call Naomi King and get information, because you seem to be very much interested in him. And I said, yes, I am. I said, nobody knew this guy. And I don't think if it's really relevant, then we need to know more about him. And so I went to Mrs. King, and I said, Mrs. King, I would like to know more about your husband. And she said, no, my husband has been dead almost 40 years ago. Leave me alone. Why do you want to bring sorrow back to me? Because I've forgotten about this for 40 years, almost 40 years. Why are you coming about that now? What is your motive? And I said, ma'am, I am an African, and I read so much about the civil rights, and I never heard about your husband, and I understood that it was relevant to the movement. She said, yeah, it was relevant, but leave him alone. So I left it alone. Then I approached Reverend Osmond, the first cousin to Coretta, and I asked Reverend Osmond about AD, and he said, AD was a mighty warrior. That was the first sentence he said. He said, you want to know about AD? I'll tell you everything you need to know about AD. And then later on he said, go and talk to Reverend Orange, because he brought Reverend Orange into the movement. That's how powerful this man was. And so I did. And the first person I interviewed was Reverend Orange. And he cried, talking about AD. He said, there's something I'll never forget. And that is AD came bringing me to the movement, because he made me who I am today, and I'll never forget that. And he gave me a 3-hour interview, and a week later he died.
Wow. We're going to hold you right there, and don't you guys go anywhere, because we'll be back with more Potpourri. Stay tuned.
Matchsticks, matchbox, matching tie to matching socks. You don't know why, but you're really special to match point, match game. You and I are not the same, but I can tell that you're really special to me. There is something I can give to make you laugh, to help you live. We're the perfect match, and you're really special to me. We're the perfect match, and you're really special to me.
Up to 40% of businesses never recover after experiencing a major disaster. Make a plan at ready.gov/business.
Mom, can we get some ice cream? Please, Mom, please.
No, we're having dinner soon.
Please.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of children in foster care who will take you just as you are.
Up to 40% of businesses never recover after experiencing a major disaster. Make a plan at ready.gov/business.
Welcome back to Potpourri, and if you guys missed it, I'm still here with Dr. Babs Onabanjo. How's it going, Doc?
It's going fine. I'm enjoying this.
Good, good, good. Well, let's jump right back into it. I know we talked about A.D. King and Martin Luther King, but let's get into who you are. I know that you're a civil rights activist, and I think that the world should know more about what your work is.
Yes, before I answer that question, I'd like to kind of piggyback on the
go right ahead.
line that you asked me earlier,
Right
and that
ahead.
was what were the laws, the 30 laws that changed America. Remember I said 1964 Civil Rights Act as a result of the demonstration in Birmingham, then the 1965 Voting Rights Act as a result of the demonstration in Selma, and then the housing ordinance that A.D. spearheaded in Louisville, Kentucky, and it became into a state law in 1968. A.D. was responsible for that, and then it became a national law. So that African Americans can buy homes wherever they like, if they can afford it. That was the law that changed the housing ordinance, starting from the city of Louisville, and then became a state law, and it became a national law. So you can see that, A.D. was not just a brother, but he was a leader in its own right. Remember that a leader sometimes causes people to feel uncomfortable. And so there are lots of situations that A.D. found himself. For example, his house was bombed in Birmingham. He almost lost the whole family. His church was bombed in Louisville. And during the demonstrations, many demonstrations, he was in arm's length, whereby he lost an eye. He was wounded in Selma, Alabama, during that demonstration there. Also in Louisville, Kentucky, I lost an eye. So we need to understand and appreciate who this man was.
Absolutely.
Not just a brother. He was well devoted, committed, and supported his brother. So now let me answer my question about myself. I think it's not by accident that I'm involved with building AD King Foundation, because I've been able to bring AD to the limelight, and it's now been resurrected, so to say, and people will begin to appreciate who he was, basically. And Naomi is doing a great job. At the age of 83 years old, going to school once a month. We were just at Fulton Leadership Academy last Friday, and where Mrs. King motivated about 600 kids, and more than 50 of them stood up to ask questions. That's how attentive they were, and that's the difference that she's making today. Very, very relevant. And the issue of Michael Brown came up. She was able to answer those questions, because our kids are now listening, and they're beginning to look for leadership, and they want to become leaders of tomorrow. So we have to train them now and make sure that we nurture them and we prepare them for tomorrow.
And I know Michael Brown isn't even the only one as far as what America's seeing. So we can go back to as far as this past summer with the situation of Trayvon Martin. And I actually had the opportunity to speak with his parents.
Yes.
And
Sabrina.
What's your take on the Trayvon Martin situation?
You see, that's one of the things that the AD King Foundation is doing. We're teaching about the 6 principles of nonviolence. If anybody, it's a skill. There are strategies that help us in life become a better person. Sometimes you have to choose your battle. A good general does not fight all battles. There are only 5 battles that he can win. And therefore, there are right ways of fighting and there are wrong ways of fighting. We have to fight with our intellectuals. We have to fight with our priorities. And we need to know that we need to leave, because dead people don't make noise. They don't make, so it's very important that we teach, and that's why when we go to school, we teach the 6 principles of nonviolence, because nonviolence will not make you a killer. Nonviolence is a very strong skill set and mindset for you to have, because it does not guarantee that you'll not be killed, but you'll not be a murderer. Okay, you always stand on the path of righteousness, and you have the skills to understand your enemies, your adversaries, in a way that is very magnificent. That's why it worked in those days. It can still work to today. Many people are calling different countries that, how did America do it? Because they see the value in those skills. And that's what we need to teach our children, because if Trayvon knew about the 6 principles of nonviolence and practiced it every day, it would not be dead today. If Michael Brown knew about nonviolent strategy today, it would not be dead today. Because it's very powerful and yet makes you very successful. Because we try to understand our humanity. Because once you live this life, that's it. We don't have another chance. So what I'm saying is that I'm not trying to take a position of right or wrong, but I'm trying to say that let's teach our children righteousness. Let's teach our children strategy that will keep them alive and that will make them successful in life.
And just looking at those situations, I know it's usually the case of a black-white kind of situation, but what are we going to do to change the situation of a black-black situation?
Exactly. That's what we need to teach about nonviolence. It answers all problems, both white and it has no color boundaries, because evil is evil, hate is hate, and sometimes that's what we need to put a face. Something has to have a face for you to address it. Look at what is happening in Nigeria about the abduction of the children. Those are evil. Period. You don't want to say they are Muslims or they are Christians. They are nothing but evil. And you need to attack evil That's the only way, by giving it a face. I don't care who they are. I don't care what the color of their skin. Look at ISIS. It's nothing but evil.
Right.
Period. So the question is, are you going to be on the side of good or on the side of evil?
That's absolutely true. Now, do you think that media plays a part in racism? Because, for instance, the whole Michael Brown situation or Trayvon Martin situation, it's like those things occur on a regular basis, but when the media is involved, it's blown out of proportion. Then you have the rallies. Do you think that's right? Or do you think media even plays a part in how the African American community sees situations? Yeah,
the media always plays a very vital role in any democracy because of the freedom of speech. With the freedom of speech, it's also freedom of responsibility and good reporting and unbiased reporting. Any reporting that is bad is no good because it has an agenda. The question is, what is the agenda?
It's true. And it's like also like with the Michael Brown situation, it was like they showed the people rallying and then they showed the African American community looting. And do you think that's right? Do you think the media is painting us in a negative light to try to support a different cause or try to deter the viewers from a different situation?
Well, let me say it this way. Right is right, wrong is wrong. I don't care what the situation is. If it's righteous, it doesn't matter whether the media shows it or not. It's going to be right. But if it's wrong, it doesn't matter whether the media shows it, it's going to be wrong. So we have to take responsibility as well. We're a civilized society, regardless of color, regardless of creed. So if our people are doing something wrong, we need to chastise them and tell them to stop. If they are doing something that is right, then we need to promote those things that they do that are right. So there were situations whereby some people took advantage of it because they have their own agenda. And that agenda is mean-spirited. So I would say that, yes, it's good to protest. Yes, it's good to stand for your brother. Yes, it's good to stand for your sister. But on the right part, on the side of righteousness. If my brother is doing something wrong, I'm not going to say because it's my brother, I'm going to say he's doing right. If he's doing right, I support him 100%. But if he's doing wrong, I would not be on that path because it's wrong, you see. So those people that are looting, they have no business looting. They have nothing, it does not add to the situation. In fact, it's counterproductive.
True. And, well, let's get back into I know we got a little sidebarred, but I know that you're the CEO and founder of the A.D. King Foundation. Kind of tying everything together, what is the foundation actually doing, or what's the mission of the foundation?
The mission of the foundation is to empower youth and to promote nonviolent social change strategy as a way of life. Not just talking about it, but living it day by day. That's very important. What we do to promote that is we take kids from our community and we take them abroad. For example, last year, we took 28 young kids to Bahamas. 24 of them out of the 20 have never left the Metro Atlanta area. So that just tells you how significant it is. And when they came back, they have a different mindset because they cannot compare and see another place. Before they couldn't compare. So they're now very curious to find out the rest of the world. And now they now know that the horizon is not limited to their geographical area. There's no more boundaries for them anymore. So it's very inspiring, and it changes their mindset and their attitude to become better. And when we train them in the nonviolent social change strategies, we also ask them to become ambassadors for peace, so they can begin to promote that kind of good values within the school system. This year, November 20, we're going to Brazil, and we're taking a few kids with us as well. But the bottom line is that we invest in kids, in our youth from middle school, elementary school, and we do mentoring. We partner with a lot of organizations, but the bottom line is that we look at the holistic approach of how do we nurture our children, make sure that they go to school, they graduate from school, because many of our kids are languishing in jail, and there's no future for them. And that's another what you call slave mentality or industrial complex, which is nothing but using cheap labor. But why do you have to become part of that? So we're going to change that attitude mindset and make sure they don't get there in the first place.
As the show, as we're wrapping up, what information could you put out there for the viewers to actually contribute to the foundation or be a part of the foundation?
Definitely we have a website, and that is www.adkingfoundation.com. We also have a blog, like a Facebook. It's called www.adkingfoundation.ning.com. So, but when you Google my name, Babs Onabanjo, everything should come up. Okay? So you don't have to worry about that. But I'm very privileged to be having this interview because it's not about me, it's about the future, our young folks. And just to let you know that A.D. King will always be remembered, was that when his brother was killed, A.D. King was with him in Memphis. Martin was in room 306, A.D. was in room 206. And that just tells you how close they were in life. They were never too far from each other. There was never a day that AD would not call ML or ML would not call AD. Okay. And lots of stories being told by those full soldiers who are very close to them, especially Georgia Powers, Senator Georgia Powers. He said that it was AD that made me senator, one of the first senators in the United States, in the state of Kentucky, and wrote a nice letter about AD King. It's on the website.
All right.
Okay. So AD again lived in the shadow of his brother, but it's no longer in his shadow anymore. It's now an icon that needs to be revered in its own right.
Wow. Thank you so much, Doc. I really appreciate having you on my show today.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for viewing. I'm Raphael Lester. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Potpourri. Again, Dr. Babs Onabanjo. Until next time, have a great day.
Oh, those boys are much too much. Those boys are much too much. We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We're going to beat them and bust them.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life.
Let's get a little bit rowdy. R-O-W-D-Y.
Take time to be a dad today. Call or visit fatherhood.gov to learn more.
Getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. Go to discovertheforest.org.